For nearly 100 years, the beaches of Daytona have hosted speed demons from around the world. Over that time, certain names have become like old family friends to the locals that tend to the hotels, the attractions, the storefronts.
Here they come. Waltrip trying to slingshot. Petty is out in front at the line. Waltrip to the inside. Petty wins it.
Names like Petty, France, Yarborough.
At the line it is Dale Yarborough.
But never has a name rolled off the dunes of Daytona Beach quite like Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt won 34 races here at the world center of racing. He won poles, qualifying races, NASCAR Busch races, 400s, and won 500.
Dale Earnhardt finally is a champion of the Daytona 500.
But even the Intimidator never had a Speed Weeks quite like 2003. That honor belonged to his son.
That draft coming off turn 2 as they hit that long back straightaway and come to the view of Mike back at the end of the back straight.
This is it right here. 70 laps. Reach up there and pull them belts tight.
The season's first exhibition race placed Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the rear of a 19-car field. By the 14th lap of the first 20-lap segment, he was already at the front. Segment 2 was twice as long, with the same result.
This is what this race is all about right here, folks. Side by side, these cars will look like they've been run at the Saturday night short track we were talking about when it's over with.
And this is happening at 185 to 190 miles an hour.
Jeff Gordon hip-checked his way to the front with just 15 circuits remaining. But with 8 laps to go, car number 8 made his move.
Come on, big dog, let's go!
All right, hold him off there. They're too wide behind you. Nice to see that right there, hero. Congratulations, guys. That's what all the hard work's for right there.
Tonight's big. I've had a great off season. I'm really pumped up for these Speed Weeks, man. I'm telling you, I think we're gonna have good things this year. And I'm real nervous because the winner of the Daytona 500 didn't have such a great race season, but hopefully we can make a difference this year and win the 500 and the championship.
The homecoming continued for Earnhardt Jr. 5 days later, having qualified on the outside of the front row for the Daytona 500. He started on the pole for the second twin 125-mile qualifying race.
Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch get together. He gets rid of the crew members. There's some mistakes. This will cost you getting in the Daytona 500.
A gas-only stop kept Junior up front for good. 5 days, 2 wins. On Saturday, Junior spent the day battling with temporary teammate Kevin Harvick in the NASCAR Busch Series, leading 67 of the 120 laps. 7 days, 3 wins. Only one race remained, the Great American Race. No other sport starts its season with its biggest event.
means stay in line till you cross the start-finish line. The number 2 starter must not be number 1 starter to the line. It's important that you communicate with your spotters today and your hand signals. Get them up high in your car, signal to the driver behind you, check your mirrors, and give and take.
Hey, buddy, I'm ready to go, man. Daytona 500. Always want to run this race. Ever since she's a kid, biggest race of the year.
That's it. We're going for it. Let's go.
What do you think, Mikey?
Mikey's ready.
No other race means so much to so many people. No other day has the power to turn a mere mortal into a NASCAR legend. The 45th running of the Daytona 500 had arrived.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Pole sitter Jeff Green never got to enjoy his time at the front.
At the front, they're not going to give Jeff Green this first lap.
No, sir. And you can see already that there's take no prisoners today. We're flat out racing. All bets are off.
Amid a storm of furious racing on the track, another was beginning to roll into the skies above it.
Rain is in the forecast, and all these crew chiefs on pit road know it. Could be as close as an hour away, and that will affect the thinking and strategy of all of these crew chiefs.
A 4-horse train of Chevy set the pace. Michael Waltrip, teammate Earnhardt Jr., defending champion Tony Stewart, and sophomore sensation Jimmy Johnson. At 34 laps, Stewart became the 115th lap leader in 500 history. His teammate was not so fortunate.
Trouble on turn 4. A car spins to the infield. Bobby Labonte,
Caution is on
Winston Cup champ.
Past the race's 1/4 mark, rain clouds casting a shadow over turn 1 as Elliott Sadler shadowed leader Earnhardt Jr.
Cars into the wall in the middle of the field. Ken Schrader is one of them. Another over on its roof is Ryan Newman in the tri-oval grass. The car flips 2, now 3 times and comes to rest on its roof just off the front stretch in the tri-oval grass.
Here comes Schrader, and Newman is in the air and over. Ryan Newman, last year's Rookie of the Year. The rear end ripped from the car.
At lap 56, Ryan Newman shook the sky. For 1 hour and 8 minutes, teams waited out the rain. There's nothing more unnatural for a race car driver than to sit still when he knows he could be racing. When the signal finally came from NASCAR to refire the engines, Earnhardt's power plant decided to hit the snooze bar.
The car will not fire, Jake. Laneri ran a battery down there. Tony Jr. is running down there. A number of crew members from the Bud guys are running down to see if they can help Dale Earnhardt Jr. A wrecker is making its way to the front of the grid.
This is not the kind of bump drafting that you want to see.
Suddenly, barreling through the pack was 2-time Daytona 500 champion Sterling Marlin. Within sight of leader Waltrip, Marlin instead was seen red because of a flag colored black.
And there he's dipping below the line to pass that car there. Black flag, that could put him a lap down. Again, a mistake you can't make.
A 1-lap yellow line penalty left the Coors Light Dodge out in the cold. Meanwhile, Earnhardt Jr.'s chances were bleeding away.
What's it read right there, Junior? 11 3/4, 11 1/2. Slowly going down, 10 volts down.
For 9.5 days, nothing could stop Dale Earnhardt Jr. On the 10th day, it was a $2 part that did him in. All eyes fell onto leader Jimmy Johnson. To his inside was the now lapped car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. On his bumper sat Earnhardt's teammate, Michael Waltrip, the Roush duo, Kurt Busch and Mark Martin, and the Childress Racing team of Harvick and Robbie Gordon.
Smoke and flame from that last car in line, Mike Skinner. Something broke.
In what looked to be a gang fight, the youngster was left standing all alone.
From El Cajon, California, leads them down for the restart.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 8 car, remember, 2 laps down after having that battery problem. He would love to clear Jimmy Johnson to take the lead of this race and get one of those laps back. Well, the caution come out.
See, right here, he's going to pull Michael by Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's hung out to dry.
We got showers about 2 or 3 miles away off northwest of us here. We got them right now. It's pouring.
For 1 hour and 10 minutes, Michael Waltrip waited. At 5:25, the race was declared the Daytona 272.5, the shortest in history. Waltrip's first win had been dampened by the death of his friend and boss, Dale Earnhardt. This time, it was dampened only by rain. He didn't even notice.
So thankful for Dale Earnhardt. He made this place even more special to me, watching him over the years. And I know his heart, and he was about this place. And I know he's smiling now.
The reality of harsh weather blew into Rockingham in February. 1 month earlier, NASCAR chairman Bill France Jr. hinted at the possibility of a major schedule realignment in 2004. Many NASCAR observers believed that the North Carolina Speedway had been put under the microscope and under pressure to prove its worth for the future. Should the 1 mile track remain among racing's elite facilities? Or had the time come for the nearly 40-year-old facility to give way to a big market counterpart? With 10 laps to go, the Rock stated its case for survival.
10 laps to go as they come to the line. Here is Dale Jarrett on the move, making it 3 wide with Mike Skinner down to the inside lane. Still side by side, racing to turn 1.
Storming up into this battle is Dale Jarrett, forced to the top side of the racetrack. 3 wide lap traffic. Johnny Benson, Robbie Gordon down low as the race for the lead continues off of 4.
Dale Jarrett absolutely boxed in coming down to the start-finish line. Here's Kurt Busch pulling to the outside, challenging. Busch takes the lead that lap, but DJ's still there.
Jarrett dives to the bottom. Kurt Busch now up the racetrack. Jarrett slides wide. Jarrett's there. Busch is loose in 4.
Dale Jarrett tried to get underneath him. He's got a fender there along as they come back down to the start-finish line. There are 3 laps to settle it. Door to door, they go to 1.
Fans are on their feet at Rockingham, and it's Jarrett down low, sideways as he dirt tracks it on the bottom of the racetrack. Kurt Busch on the outside. They are dead even.
2 Fords side by side, 2 Fords wanting the lead, leaning on each other off the end of the back straightaway. Jarrett with a fender out in front, but Kurt Busch rallies back in the outside lane.
2 laps to go when they come back to the stripe. This time it's Dale Jarrett showing the way. He gets in front of Kurt Busch. Busch dives back to the inside. Dale Jarrett last one here at Rockingham in October of 2000. He goes to victory lane today in the Subway 400, picking up the win over Kurt Busch.
Jarrett's second Rockingham win marked his 31st career victory and the first for new crew chief Brad Parrott.
I just got to say thanks to Brad Parrott, all the pit crew. They did a great job. Brad's first win, that was tough racing. I mean, you know, at a place where you're trying to get in the gas and your tires are worn out, this UPS Ford did the job.
But the sun was already setting on that pair's short marriage. The Las Vegas Motor Speedway sits in the shadow of a series of peaks known as the Muddy Mountains. It has always seemed like an unusual name for a collection of hills located in the desert. That is, until race weekend arrived. Rain pushed Friday qualifying deep into the night.
He's going to do it, I think, guys. He did it. 31 1:21.
New track record, Bobby Labonte.
Bobby Labonte grabbed his 23rd career pole. By race day, the sun and the fans had arrived.
Thank you.
After 2 days of intense preparation, it was time once again to go racing.
Let's have a good, solid day. Let's do nothing to take Jimmy out of this race, okay? The car is good. The car is really good. So all we have to do is just maintain and have good, solid pit stop. Let's be there at the end. Today's word is let's get it done. Get it done, all right? Get it done on 3 right here. 1, 2, 3. Get it done!
1 week after his Rockingham win, Dale Jarrett's momentum evaporated like a desert mirage.
Dale Jarrett, 88, hard outside wall.
The wreck sparked a 2-month slide that would drop the 88 team from second in the point standings to the mid-20s, a slide that would lead to the departure of the Parrott brothers by early April. Up front, it was a familiar Sin City scene. Matt Kenseth's 9-second victory over Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the 4th for a Roush Racing driver in 6 Las Vegas events. The battle for 8th, however, that was a little more intense.
Boy, we got a battle coming back here. Jimmy Johnson sideways. Him and Raleigh got together.
How did that car miss him?
He hadn't given it. He's never lifted out of the throttle yet. Jimmy hadn't.
Johnson tried to chase Marlin down, but hit a roadblock.
Look at Jimmy Johnson. He's looking for that 40 car. Here he is down here, buddy. I mean, I'm not trying to incite anything, but he's looking for him, and he's sitting down here. He's hot.
There was no time for revenge, only time to pack up and head south. The southern swing of March, April, and May was 5 days and 2,000 miles away. From the urban sprawl of the New South to the rolling hills of East Texas, NASCAR's annual Spring Swing is a trip over the timeline of stock car racing history. From the Martinsville Speedway, which opened in 1947, to the Texas Motor Speedway, christened in 1997, the NASCAR Winston Cup Series embarked on a spring schedule calling for 9 races in 12 weeks, with only 1 set outside of the Southeast. As the drive-through Dixie began, the warning went out. Beware the rides of March. Stop 1, Atlanta.
Well, Atlanta's probably the most fun track I think we can race at all year, because we can run 2 and 3 wide and run right up against the wall and do all that stuff.
I like going fast, but I think the good thing about Atlanta is the groove changes so much. I mean, you might run the first 8 or 10 laps on the bottom, but then you might run clear by the wall for the next 30 laps.
It's just one of those tracks. I mean, I love going fast.
Bobby Labonte steadily dominated the day, but had to contend with an old rival down the stretch.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., he laid back that time, but Jeff Gordon, you can pass to the right side. He looks like he caught Bobby Labonte maybe sleeping just a little bit, and I think he'll keep the high side, the momentum.
Boy, Bobby's going to have to really get after it right here.
And he did.
He's going to have to come up in front of Jeff, or it's going to be trouble. I'm thinking Bobby Labonte is not happy about Jeff Gordon getting around him. He's going to try him on the outside.
Boy, it gets close right there.
Man, I tell you, the track is so slick right there.
Labonte forced his way around the outside where there wasn't hardly room to do it, and he wants the lead back and takes it. Bobby Labonte scores his 20th career victory.
The win was Labante's 6th at Atlanta. But the showers of accolades was saved for the new crew chief, Michael Fatback McSwain. Like Rockingham, the Darlington Raceway faced uncertainty about its future. So, the track Too Tough to Tame rolled out a 3-act, 3-race drama. On Friday, Bobby Hamilton defeated Ted Musgrave by less than 0.14 of a second in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
He got a fight off the high side, just like yesterday. Here they come. It's a wow! And it's McMurray. No, it's not. It's Bodine. Jamie slides across to finish second.
Todd Bodine edged a sideways Jamie McMurray to win the NASCAR Busch Series race. But nothing topped Sunday afternoon as the Lady in Black snacked on would-be contenders. Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven worked their way to the front.
Come on, baby, come on.
Side by side, 2 laps to go. Somebody's got to give, getting into turn 1.
Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch side by side, they bump. Busch brushes the wall. They bounce off each other. Craven has the lead. Busch bumps him. Craven to the outside and Busch back underneath, regains the top spot.
Now here comes Ricky Craven trying to regain that lost ground. Busch back to the lead on the back straightaway. Ricky Craven in hot pursuit, pedal to the metal, and Dave Blaney joins this battle. Here's Busch, 2 car lengths out in front. Here comes Craven again, using the high lane on the move in 4.
Getting physical here at Darlington Raceway like it's supposed to be. Craven has another shot, but only one. The white flag out this time. Kurt Busch leads by inches back to turn 1.
The gloves are off. Craven is there into turn 1. Half a car length back. Busch drifts high. Craven unable to make a move. They'll remain single file. Craven now to the inside.
Here they come off turn 2, racing for the lead and the win. The crowd on the back straightaway is just going delirious. Busch, Craven, nose to tail. Here comes Craven up top. Busch goes up the block. Here comes Craven down to the bottom, trying to hang on. Both cars are loose in 4s.
He's got him this time. It's going to be a drag race. Wow! They touch, they touch. Craven got him. Craven got him. Craven got him. And Craven. All right. What a finish.
In its 101st race, NASCAR's oldest speedway produced a timeless finale.
Sorry, we got wrecked race cars.
Too bad somebody's got to lose that.
That's the way it goes. That was a lot of fun. I'm sorry that we got wrecked race cars. I had no power steering.
Just keep digging. Really?
Yeah, it was gone.
I really didn't think I had a shot. I came off the turn 4 and you got some wheel spin. I got it back in next week.
Yeah, it's opened up.
Yeah, thank you.
We raced each other way supposed to.
It was awesome.
Y'all sure y'all don't want anything? No, we got some bacon and all. That's Roy Chow.
As spring broke over Thunder Valley, fans and drivers alike enjoyed their freedoms with a little more flavor than usual. 6,500 miles away, more than 250,000 United States military personnel were pushing their way toward Baghdad. For once, racing was the second concern on everyone's mind.
I know everybody in this room certainly would agree that we're very fortunate to live in a country where we can make decisions. It doesn't matter if it's about your religion, your political beliefs, or your careers, or what have you. I know everyone agrees with me that we are very, very lucky, truly lucky, to live in a country where those exist.
For the land of the free and the home of the
Sunday afternoon racing at Bristol resembles a Monday morning traffic jam, only at speeds approaching 130 miles per hour.
That place will wear you out pretty quick. You're going around in 15-second laps, and just the sheer grind of the car, when you hit the bank and you go in the corner, making sure you don't slip getting into the corner. You slip there, it's going to kill your exit. I mean, you're finessing the wheel, the brakes, the pedals. You're just working everything that you can to keep the car straight.
17 caution flags on the day meant crowded quarters on the track, on pit road, and in the garage. After 3 runner-up efforts in 5 weeks, Kurt Busch pulled off the spin and win to defend his 2002 Bristol title. Then the youngster took a moment to salute the real heroes of the day.
This is the greatest country in the world, and I have to thank all the vets and everybody that's overseas fighting for us that we're able to come out here and compete and produce a race like this. I mean, it's just a total team effort. It's wonderful, and I just got to thank the good Lord for giving us a great car. I mean, it's the silver metallic Sharpie, and we got it to victory lane.
The final step of March's march came at Fort Worth, Texas, where, as they say, everything comes big, especially in the presence of the king of stock car racing.
Is the whole crowd going with us? Everybody going together?
I haven't seen how long it is yet. It's a mile and a half.
When you get over yonder, that's a long backstretch. It's don't look too long till you get there.
After a thorough inspection by His Majesty, Texas was ready to race. How taxing is a high-speed day at Texas? Just ask Ricky Rudd, whose Ford Taurus was converted into a Lone Star bumper car.
I mean, we're looking through a camera, but that's what Ricky Rudd was seeing out the windshield, nothing but smoke.
He's got a field of 4-leaf clovers. He must have. He is the master at avoiding disaster.
Ryan Newman came to Texas knocking on the door of NASCAR's top 10. After a gutsy 2-tire pit stop and a late duel with Dale Earnhardt Jr., he busted down the door. The 2002 Rebestos Rookie of the Year collected a cool $400 grand for his win, but was soon to fall victim to the dreaded sophomore slump. Most drivers enter the infield of the Talladega Superspeedway each April with one goal in mind: survive 500 miles and just get out of Alabama in one piece. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., a trip to the Yellowhammer State means one other thing: a home court advantage. Not since Buddy Baker in the mid-1970s had a driver won 3 consecutive races at Talladega. No driver, not Petty, nor Pearson, not even Junior's namesake, had ever won 4 in a row. After qualifying 13th, a Saturday engine change relegated Earnhardt Jr. to the back of the starting grid, a position that provided a front row seat for the biggest crash in Talladega history.
Look out, trouble upside down, and into the wall goes Ryan Newman. A number of cars involved. Head on into the wall goes Ricky Rudd. 14 cars involved. Johnny Benson is in it. Jamie McMurray, also Bobby Labonte. More than half the field piled up in the outside wall after Ryan Newman gets upside down in turn number 2.
In all, 27 cars were involved in the Lap 4 calamity. Most suffered irreparable damage to either their sheet metal or their spirit. Not Earnhardt Jr. To a man, every NASCAR crew member got their start in some small hometown garage. Why? Well, to deal with days like this one. Forget space-age aerodynamics and multi-million-dollar resources. A true mechanic does his best work with a hammer in one hand and a roll of duct tape in the other. As the race restarted, nearly half the field remained in the garage, with nothing left in their pit stall but a little sweat, a little oil, and a lot of heartbreak. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would not lie down so easily. For the next 3 hours, the Budweiser crew battled bent fenders, loose tape,
flapping on the left front there, guys. Aluminum piece coming off.
and poor restarts. Up front, the cars of Hendrick Motorsports were ganging up on the rest of the field.
These two Hendrick cars are really fast. Yeah, 10-4. Well, man, this is going to be a long day.
Through each and every challenge, the Budweiser team did just enough to stay on the lead lap, just enough to make it to the next do-it-yourself project. In the end, it was all just enough to be back in contention for the closing laps.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the bottom for the lead.
Junior to the bottom there, 3 wide for the lead at Talladega.
This is for the top spot in turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. shoots out ahead.
Junior blocks it. Off turn 2, the fans going nuts as Junior hits the back chute.
Final time into turns 3 and 4. It's Dale Jr. by just 3 yards over Kevin Harvick, going for 4 in a row at Talladega. He makes it happen, winning the Aaron's 499. Dale Jr. the winner.
It's cool, 4 in a row. Old Buddy Baker. I bet he's loving this.
For a decade, Talladega was the playground of a man named Dale Earnhardt. For the last 4 years, it has belonged to his son. But the win did not come without controversy. To some, the pass with 3 laps to go appeared to dip below the yellow line, the same infraction that had cost Sterling Marlin so dearly at Daytona.
With the yellow line rule, we emphasize to the teams that it's a judgment call, and you cannot advance your position by going below the yellow line. In this particular instance, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had advanced his position. He had already passed the 17 car before he went below the yellow line.
Despite some protest, the win stood. At Talladega, restrictor plates are used to hold back 358 cubic inch engines. At Martinsville, Virginia, drivers must apply a mental restrictor plate to their right foot.
Martinsville's that good old southern racetrack where it's just that short track feeling, no aero. You show up and the times are just so close.
Well, you don't have to worry about who's got the best motor and who's got the best aero package. It doesn't mean anything at Martinsville. It's a matter of who gets their car driving the best, who, as a driver, takes care of their brakes and their tires and doesn't beat their car up.
Martinsville is just a grassroots, fun, kick-in-the-pants racetrack.
Over the course of a 3.5-hour race, drivers will apply that foot to the brake pedal more than 1,000 times. The man that can make his brakes go the distance, he's the man who will be in position to win at the end. With 13 laps to go on April 13th, there were 2 men in that position. That's when the man in second place decided to apply his brakes a little bit lighter than the man in first. Some expected some old-fashioned retaliation after the checkered flag flew. But the only post-race contact on this day was a friendly pat on the back. LA, Hollywood, Tinseltown, the playground of the rich and famous. There's something about the Southern California sun that seems to make everything shine a little brighter. But life in the spotlight has its downside as well. Every NASCAR Winston Cup season, there's one poor soul who finds himself the target of silly season scrutiny, the subject of every internet rumor and closed-door conversation. In 2003, that man was Steve Park. Since returning to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated from injuries suffered in late 2001, Steve Park's performance has been anything but peak. Coming into California, the 35-year-old New York native was 27th in points, looking to justify his employment with DEI. For one lap on Friday, he was back on top.
But he could go on the pole, guys. He got it! He does it!
How about that?
3/1,000ths of a second.
The stage was set for Park to flex a little Pennzoil muscle. But during lap 1 on Sunday, the man with something to prove pushed a little too hard.
Park spins.
Over the first 9 races of 2003, there had been 9 different winners. With 15 laps to go at California, 2 men were looking to add their name to that list. Rusty Wallace and Jamie McMurray. Kurt Busch had other plans. Ten races into the season, Kurt Busch was 4th in points, chasing teammate and point leader Matt Kenseth, with a couple of men named Earnhardt and Gordon separating them. On Friday afternoon, May 2nd, Jerry Nadeau found the Turn 1 wall at Richmond with a blow that registered more than 100 times the force of gravity. Quickly, the 32-year-old Connecticut native was airlifted to a nearby hospital, as his friends and competitors at the track patiently waited for any news.
He's listed in critical condition, and just about everybody in this garage area is saying a little silent prayer for Jerry Nadeau right now.
On Saturday night, Nadeau's condition weighed heavily on everyone's mind as NASCAR Busch Series star Jason Keller was recruited to pilot Nadeau's U.S. Army Pontiac. Just as Jerry would want, the race was on. A night of attrition settled in. Potential contenders fell by the wayside. And a rapid-fire chain of events set silly season 2003 into real motion.
Jeff Green spins around. He collects Jason Keller.
Jeff Green just made a beeline to his teammates pit. Kevin Harvick in the 29 and started poking his crew chief Todd Berry in the chest.
It was all good. Got back to the bottom of the racetrack and 29 run over me. And I don't know. I'm sure he's going to have a different story, but I know what happened. He spun me out, so supposed to be teammates, but it seemed like there's only one car at RCR.
While Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, and Robbie Gordon took turns up front, Joe Nemechek patiently picked his way through the pack. A lapse of concentration had left the former race leader on the track during an early round of pit stops. But with 70 laps to go, front row Joe was in front once again.
Back off turn 4 again, Joe Nemechek drops down to the inside of the track. This time gets a great run and takes the lead, but just by inches.
Joe Nemechek held off Bobby Lavati, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Mother Nature for his first win in 2 years. On the Monday following Richmond, Jeff Green was released from Richard Childress Racing after nearly 2 seasons. On Tuesday, Steve Park was released from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated after 6.5 years. By Wednesday afternoon, Each driver had taken over the other's former ride.
Monday afternoon, Richard told me that we thought we needed to do something different. So fortunate enough that Richard's a good enough guy. He called Ty, and Ty Norris talked to him, and they got together on that, and that helped me out a tremendous amount. But I think, you know, I feel like that Teresa and everybody at DEI and Ty Norris realizes that I can get the job done, and with an opportunity like that, I feel like we can go out and win races.
I feel like that running man on the side of the AOL machine, and it's just been a real whirlwind couple of days, and you know, to lead the Pennzoil team and then have that door kind of closed behind you. The door opened up, thankfully, at RCR with Jeff Green moving on.
We found out that Steve was available. We just jumped right on the opportunity. I think he'll be a great spokesman for AOL, our sponsor, and he's just a great guy, and we want to try to build a good race team around him.
With their super team counterparts showing early signs of crumbling, Roush Racing and Hendrick Motorsports churned their way towards summer. Matt Kenseth continued to lead the point standings with teammate Kurt Busch in third. Nemechek's teammates Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson set fourth and sixth, heading into Charlotte.
And now, from Camp Edson, Diwaniwa, Iraq, for the most famous words in all of motorsports.
Johnson Chevy wore the name of the track that hosted the final two races of spring, the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And for 9 days in May, Jimmy Johnson acted as if he owned the place.
Last year he won the first two segments. This year he wins $1 million. Jimmy Johnson wins the Winston.
Jimmy Johnson, man.
A poor qualifying effort for the Coca-Cola 600 did nothing to faze Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaus.
Outside, clear high, buddy, clear high.
The California kid methodically picked his way from dead last, 43rd to the point, with one eye on the track and one eye on the Weather Channel. The result, 2 wins in 2 weekends, a jump to 5th in points, and a 5-year contract extension to boot.
Guys have just really worked hard, and it's just been phenomenal that it all just came together kind of back to back. But Jimmy, you know, we knew he was going to be good here, and Jeff runs good here. Joe was, man, he was so good in Richmond. May was a great month. I hope June and July can be half as good.
While most race drivers settled for 414 rain-shortened miles over Memorial Day, Robbie Gordon traveled 1,453.5 miles. Starting from the front row at the Indy 500, Gordon settled for 22nd. At Charlotte, Gordon finished a lap down in 17th. And oh yes, there was the 617-mile trip from Indianapolis to Lowe's Motor Speedway. And by the way, Gordon moved up to 12th in points, just 71 markers out of the top 10 with his 17th place finish. As May drew to a close, the relentless grind of the longest schedule in all of sports began to bear down. No one has ever won the NASCAR Winston Cup title under the blazing sun of June, July, and August. But plenty of teams have lost it there. Welcome to the long, hot summer.
Whoa, Sterling Marlin sideways on the backstretch. The 40 car hits the wall hard.
Jeff got owners and just turned us around up off turn 2. You know, you got to give and take in this league, and he's done a whole lot of taking.
I hate it, you know, that I got into Sterling. You know, we were just racing hard, and I don't know if I clipped the apron or what, but you know, the car was definitely pushing. I slid up into him and you know, turned him around.
Tony Stewart dominated early at Dover, but was forced to the rear of the field for pitting inches outside his designated pit stall. During the next caution, Stewart looked to Ryan Newman for help getting back onto the lead lap under the guidelines of the so-called gentleman's agreement. But Newman was one gentleman who didn't want the fastest car on the track back into the game.
Ryan Newman ran Tony Stewart hard around to the finish line, and Tony did not get his lap back.
And he did not like it.
200 laps later, Newman was in victory lane for the second time in 2002. More would-be contenders saw their hopes go up in flames on the 3 turns of the Pocono Raceway. Meanwhile, the Home Depot Chevy was once again on fire at the front, this time for good. Stewart held off Mark Martin and points leader Matt Kenseth for the win, his first in nearly 10 months. Beneath the watchful eye of the big 3 automakers in nearby Detroit, the Michigan International Speedway played host to Ford's 100th anniversary party. On lap 37, Dodge driver Ryan Newman was kind enough to light the candles on Ford's birthday cake.
Whoa, Newman! Boy, great job by the spotter to guide him to safety.
That was a good job.
And the Blue Oval's youngest star was more than happy to blow them out. The first road course race of the year in Sonoma, California, became another test of NASCAR's unwritten rules of etiquette. With 39 laps to go, Robbie Gordon trailed teammate Kevin Harvick when the caution came out. Under the gentleman's agreement, the leader is not to be passed while coming back to take the yellow flag. Robbie Gordon didn't get the memo.
Now remember, we race to the caution flag at the start-finish line, unlike most road racing series.
If I'm Robbie Gordon, I say, oh, I didn't know the caution was out.
Robbie went on to the win with another Gordon centered in his rearview mirror. Harvick settled for third.
I think Robbie's got a little problem going faster under caution than he does under green, though. But besides that, he drove the wheels off the car, and I did everything I could to get by him, and that's all we had for him.
As temperatures rose in July, so did the pressure. But not on the drivers, on the engineers in the pits. Fuel mileage suddenly became the name of the game, and the difference between winning and losing during the summer of 2003. The first fuel gamble paid off for rookie Greg Biffle at Daytona, who rode a barely noticeable pit road top-off to an unforgettable upset.
There'll be a celebration in the Pacific Northwest tonight. For Jack Roush, Greg Biffle is going to score a win at Daytona in just his 23rd NASCAR Winston Cup start.
Gas gamble number 2 was not as kind for Kevin Harvick, who was denied a last-lap Chicagoland charge at leader Ryan Newman. Newman powered ahead for win number 3. At Loudon, New Hampshire, the emotion of the weekend was relief. First, the relief that came from the sight of Jerry Nadeau strolling around the paddock only 11 weeks after his horrifying wreck at Richmond. Second, relief that the track itself had finally become racy thanks to a new coating of blacktop. Sunday's 23rd and final lead exchange came when Jimmy Johnson passed fellow sophomore Newman with 7 laps remaining. Nursing his final gallon of fuel, Johnson one-upped his old rival. Go for broke gas strategy had won again. On the return trip to Pocono, 3-time track champion Jeff Gordon looked to take a chunk out of Matt Kenseth's staggering lead. Instead, he took a chunk out of the wall in turn 3. His rival suddenly sensed an opportunity.
Somebody got into the 24 over here and put him in the wall off the 3. Hell yeah, some points for Dude Dog here. Good opportunity, good opportunity.
For the final 46 laps, Ryan Newman kept one eye on Kurt Busch and Earnhardt in the rearview mirror and one eye on a faltering fuel gauge. Rusty Wallace, Kenseth, and a slew of teams played it safe, coming in for fuel. But Newman stood pat. The pole sitter pulled an empty fuel cell across the finish line for his 4th win of the year. The Purdue engineering graduate returned home to Indiana as the hottest driver in the sport and the odds-on favorite to win the biggest summer race of them all, the Brickyard 400. When NASCAR debuted at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1994, many viewed the arrival as an intrusion on open-wheel racing's holy ground. 1 decade later, the stock car racers were welcomed home as a regular member of the Brickyard family. Newman's homecoming started well enough, qualifying on the outside pole alongside Kevin Harvick. But a sputtering fuel tank would end his day in 11th. Harvick, on the other hand, was back near the front when it mattered most. Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, Robbie Gordon, and Jamie McMurray all took turns at the point during the race's closing stages as Harvick lurked in the shadows. On August 3, 1995, Dale Earnhardt in the Goodwrench Chevy won the 2nd Brickyard 400. 8 years and 1 day later, Kevin Harvick seized an opportunity on a restart with 16 laps to go, and the GM Goodwrench Chevy was out front once again.
Keep an eye on the leader, McMurray. Harvick going to try and follow the lap cars.
Oh, there he goes. He goes on the inside of McMurray. He takes the lead.
Kevin Harvick to the front at Indy. The checkered flag is in sight, and the California kid, Kevin Harvick, wins the 10th Brickyard 400.
Anything we can do that Dale Earnhardt did is an accomplishment. You know, this whole race team, and that's why we still got this 3 on the side, because this is what this is what made this whole organization and this race team what it is today.
At Watkins Glen, the face in victory lane was different, but the team stayed the same. Robbie Gordon completed his road course sweep and a 2-week winning streak for car owner Richard Childress. But it was the other Gordon that made the headlines by not finishing.
Dale Jr. Oh, Jeff Gordon spins off the last corner. Jeff Gordon is spun coming to the checkered flag.
With 14 races remaining, Jeff Gordon's shot at championship number 5 was gone. As the long, hot summer of 2003 steamed its way into mid-August, temperatures rose in the sky above, under the hood, and under more than a few callers in the garage. Matt Kenseth now carried a demoralizing 258-point lead with 4 months of racing yet to go. While would-be contenders felt the heat to catch the 17 car, others simply reached their boiling point.
Yeah, you got to keep your emotions in check. There's no doubt about that, because we're in a 500-mile road rage out there all the time. And you really got to think what you say so it doesn't harm anybody or doesn't make you look stupid.
Over-aggression in our sport can create serious injury.
The adrenaline is flowing, the emotions are high, the intensity level, because of how competitive it is out there and how bad you want to win, creates, you know, a very unique environment for us to stay cool.
Ryan Newman gambled on fuel mileage at Michigan and won for the 3rd time in 6 weeks. As Newman celebrated, 2 men who had tangled during a battle for the lead took their differences into the garage.
What happened last week was an assault after the race, and what had happened leading up to that in the past was I've got 2 wrecked race cars out of it, and I don't respect Jimmy Spencer. He came up, hit me in the rear, and then he came up to my window and punched me. I never expected him to cross over that line.
2 wrongs don't make a right, and I think Kurt Busch was, somebody tried to wreck me at 190 miles an hour. I wouldn't take it very kindly either, and I certainly wouldn't have parked my car behind that guy's hauler either. But you know, NASCAR did what they have to do, and I certainly support NASCAR on their situation. I think they should have done equally the same to Kurt Busch.
The result here, Jimmy Spencer suspended for a week. But it was Kurt Busch who had to face the decision of the true jury. For a week, NASCAR fans around the country deliberated, and their verdict was announced loud and clear in the courtroom of the Bristol Motor Speedway. For 371 laps, Kurt Busch kept his nose clean, marching toward the front, despite a NASCAR Winston Cup record tying 20 caution flags. Then came lap 372.
Oh, turn 1, Sterling Marlin has crashed. 2nd place car. Kurt Busch takes the Sharpie 500 at Bristol.
The crowd here will envelope you and circumference you and let you know how they feel, that's for sure. That's what Bristol's all about. And the group here, you know, there's a bunch of them that are screaming, there's a bunch of them that are crying. My boys behind me, this is what matters. All the guys that help me out. It's just a blast to drive this car and to put this behind us.
Since September 4, 1950, NASCAR has spent every Labor Day weekend in the home of the Lady in Black. This time, the 54th time, would be the last. As part of the 2004 schedule realignment, the Southern 500 at Darlington was moved to November, and the September date sent west, creating a second race weekend for Southern California. Darlington's sister track at Rockingham would not be so lucky. For the first time since 1965, the North Carolina Speedway would host only one race in 2004.
The thing that I've said all along about our racing schedule is that we need to run in as many places as possible. And again, I didn't say run as many races as possible. I said run in as many places. If we can go and run in a diverse part of the country and have the opportunity for more and more people to see our sport, that's in the best interest of our sport.
I think that there are some markets out there that we don't reach yet, and I don't even know if there are tracks there yet, but I would like to see us start moving to building facilities in those areas.
Really like the schedule alignment they're doing. That's really cool. You know, we get to run another time in California. One race gets taken away from Rockingham, and Mr. Francis said for a long time he wants to take one away from Darlington too. So I don't know what's taking so long to do that one.
I'd mainly like to see, you know, the World 600 at Charlotte stay all the time. I think that's the neatest race of the year. It's got a lot of history to it. I think that's an awesome race. The Southern 500 at Darlington, I think, is great. The Bristol Night race. I mean, there's 6 or 7 races that you can pick out that are kind of, in my opinion, kind of the premier races and the most talked about races, and you'd hate to ever see any of them go away.
Over 5 decades, 21 men were crowned NASCAR legends by winning on Labor Day weekend at Darlington. On this day, one of those legends reached back in time to pay tribute to the track too tough to tame.
Two-time Winston Cup champion Terry Labonte at age 46 will take the checkered flag and win the 54th Southern 500.
This is pretty exciting. Win the last Southern 500 down here Labor Day weekend is pretty cool. I was wishing it stayed hot all day though. But thank all the fans down here at Darlington. What a great place, and just a great day for our Kellogg's team.
Three weeks after his win at Michigan, Ryan Newman celebrated again at Richmond. But again, his victory was overshadowed by a post-race tangle. This time, the adversaries, Kevin Harvick and Ricky Rudd.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yep. Angry drivers, we've got some tonight. And he knows that Ricky Rudd has come to the top 5 impound area on pit road. Did you hear that? Let's be smart. That's where he's coming to find him. NASCAR officials telling Kevin to get off the car, get the crewman off the car. Kevin going to have his say. Here we go. He walked across the top of the 21. And now it's on.
Harvick was fined and several crew members were suspended. In the coming weeks, Newman made sure that he would no longer be overshadowed by controversy. How? By winning. A lot. Newman won pole positions at New Hampshire, Charlotte, and Atlanta. He completed a season sweep at Dover, and then added win number 8 at the Kansas Speedway.
Would you believe they've done it again? For the 8th time this season, Ryan Newman is the first one to the checkered flag.
Fellow sophomore Jimmy Johnson added a win at New Hampshire and a Kansas pole. In September and October, the duo combined for 3 wins, 4 poles, and 13 top 10 finishes in 8 races. When the NASCAR Winston Cup schedule is unveiled each year, there are a special handful of events that fans immediately circle as must-see TV. For the second time in 2003, every eye in Alabama was focused on the red Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt Jr., now gunning for 5 Talladega wins in a row. And, as in April, he would be forced to make his charge from the back of the pack.
We're riding with Dale Jr. here. It's behind Jeff Green. Oh, Dale Jarrett came out of his pit box up there on the left. A lot of guys checked up in front of him.
With luck, time, and even air working against him, Earnhardt began to hammer his way through the field with a little help from NASCAR's new Lucky Dog rule.
Winston spinning to the inside.
Don't come back across the racetrack. He's gonna. I don't think he's got much of a choice. But, oh, that was.
Oh boy, did he just get through there? Caution is out. And Junior gets the lucky dog pass.
23 laps to go, and the Bud car was back at the point. For the 9th time in 12 restrictor plate races, the cars of Dale Earnhardt Incorporated were battling for the win. Michael Waltrip led his teammate with 6 trips remaining. Then, the frantic action was frozen by an accident nearly too horrible to watch.
Oh, trouble! Elliott Sadler over once and a half and on his roof. Now the car tumbling hard onto the pavement in turn 3. Caution is out. A terrible crash.
Elliott Sadler walked away, sore but unhurt. With prayers answered and 4 laps to go, the race was green again. Jeff Gordon immediately launched an assault on Waltrip, but the 4-time champion found himself quickly surrounded by a tag team of DEI plate makers.
Michael Waltrip trying to figure out who to block. Here they come to the final corner and down to the start-finish line. Waltrip's going to have it up. Michael Waltrip will win the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. Here comes the hatch. That's the new escape hatch that they put in Michael Waltrip's car. Well, Slugger just said he thought he'd do something still here with the show.
That's definitely a first.
Yeah, that's a first. That's perfect, isn't it?
Since February, the number 17 Ford Taurus had blazed a torrid trail of consistency, sitting atop the point standings since the 4th race of the year. During his first 16 seasons of NASCAR racing, car owner Jack Roush won championships in the NASCAR Busch Series and Craftsman Truck Series. 4 times, Roush and Mark Martin finished 2nd in NASCAR Winston Cup points, but never had they won a title. Now Roush was the odds-on championship favorite. But approaching the season's final 5 races, Kenseth's lead had dwindled. Entering September, the Wisconsin kid enjoyed a margin of more than 400 points. But an engine failure at Talladega and a lap 69 accident at Kansas had cut the lead nearly in half. Suddenly, the Sharks smelled blood in the water.
That's the plan. You know, if we can knock 80 to 100 points off a week, that'd be great. But hopefully, we can keep chopping into it.
As 2 former champions roared back to life in October, Kenseth tiptoed his way toward season's end. Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon announced their presence. The 2002 champ winning at Charlotte and the 4-time champion taking back-to-back wins at Martinsville and Atlanta. Kenseth quietly finished in the top 13 all 3 weeks, while Harvick failed to capitalize, allowing Dale Earnhardt Jr. to slip into 2nd place. As the season hurried toward sunset, the teams chased the sun westward to the Phoenix International Raceway. In order for Earnhardt to apply any pressure to his longtime rival, he'd have to win at a place where he had never won before. And he would have to win on a non-restrictor plate track for the first time in nearly 2 seasons. That's exactly what he did.
His 4th Phoenix try will result in his first victory. And his 2nd win of 2003, Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning in the Valley of the Sun.
Well, we get a lot of credit for being good at those tracks, but it takes a lot of credit away from how good we are at other racetracks. We've had a solid year, a lot of top 5s, a lot of top 10s, and so this just solidifies how we're turning into the team we need to be, and hopefully next year we can do it again.
Kenseth, meanwhile, finished a solid 6th. With 2 races to go, his lead was 228 points. Not insurmountable, but it was hefty. To keep Kenseth from winning the title, Earnhardt would need to win again. Starting in 1965, NASCAR always marked autumn's turning of the leaves by traveling east to the sandhills of Rockingham, North Carolina. And since 1966, racing at the Rock has always been a twice-yearly challenge. But this autumn's visit would prove to be the last for now. The 2004 schedule called for only 1 visit to the North Carolina Speedway, and this would be in February. 9 times Rockingham has served as the coronation spot for NASCAR Winston Cup champions, crowning legends such as David Pearson, Cale Yarborough, Dale Earnhardt, and the hometown hero, Benny Parsons. A 7th place finish or better, and Matt Kenseth would become number 10. The chase for racing immortality was on.
He bounced off the wall again. Oh, bouncing off the wall again. And he kind of bounced off Jeff. Yes, he did. Oh, trouble, 12 car around. Ryan Newman, stop car.
Over here coming off
Jeff Gordon's being black flagged.
Kenseth struggled early, wrestling an ill-handling tank around the 1-mile track. But under Robbie Reiser's guidance, the Wisconsin kid patiently brought his DeWalt Ford back to life. Then, just past the halfway point of the day, the reflexes of a champion turned near disaster into a lucky break.
And Mark looks like has an engine problem. Caution flag is out.
Kenseth was coming onto pit road. The caution came out. He ducked back onto the racetrack.
That was a good move.
Had Kenseth continued down pit road, he would have gone a lap down to leader Bill Elliott. Instead, he remained near the front.
Just when you think you may as well write Matt off, he runs poorly the first part of the race. Those guys keep working on that race car, and before you know it, he's running the top 5.
And the checkered flag is in the air. It'll be Bill Elliott. With his first win of 2003 at Rockingham today, Matt Kenseth comes to the line, finishing 4th, and Matt Kenseth is the 2003 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion.
Wisconsin's NASCAR Winston Cup lineage began in 1968 when Wausau's Dave Marcus came south in his wingtip shoes. It continued on the rugged shoulders of Alan Kulwicki's brief but brilliant career. And on November 9th, 2003, Matt Kenseth and Robbie Reiser proudly relit the NASCAR torch for the Badger State and gave their car owner a well-deserved moment in the sun.
I feel like we just broke through a plate glass window. I don't know what it's going to be like on the other side, but I hurt a lot getting through it, I'll tell you that.
This whole team is like a big family, and a lot of guys from Wisconsin that stuck with this, came down here from our late model background, and you know, from mine and Matt's, and quite an honor. I'm sure Wisconsin's going nuts.
I don't know what to say. I'm so happy and so proud of my guys. It truly is a team sport week in and week out, and you know, I've had a lot of great opportunities. Robbie gave me a great opportunity to get in the Busch Series, and this man here, right here, Mark Martin, had a bad day and still hung around for the celebration, and he gave me the big break, and you know, I appreciate all this stuff more than anybody can know.
With the championship decided, the season's final weekend carried with it a decidedly futuristic spin. On Friday, Jamie McMurray polished off Rebesta's Rookie of the Year honors with his first career pole. On Saturday, 20-year-old Brian Vickers captured the NASCAR Busch Series title, becoming the odds-on favorite to inherit McMurray's crown in 2004. And on Sunday, the kings of the past tipped their caps to the last NASCAR Winston Cup champion and the company that had done so much to elevate the sport. The Homestead Miami Speedway was also geared to the future, adding 14 degrees of banking and a brand new skin of blacktop. The Pastel Oval's reputation for single-file racing vanished after one single lap. Some auditioned for future employers, while others broke in new rides a few months early. And for the second week in a row, the oldest man on the track outran rumors of retirement by bending back the hands of time. Bill Elliott led 189 of the race's 267 laps. But on the final circuit of the season, this memorable year unleashed its final unforgettable surprise.
He pulled off the win at the Rock last weekend. Now he's going to make it 2 in a row to bring down the 2003 season.
Oh, look at that. Is he on the flat? On the last lap. The last lap, he must have a flat tire.
Bobby Labonte's by. Can you believe that? Elliott is off the pace. Fatback McSwain is going to get to do a victory dance for us. Last lap drama at Homestead. Bobby Labonte wins the Ford 400.
Man, I was surprised. If you could, we don't let you listen to our radio usually, but
what went on in your radio?
I'm telling you, I said 2 laps before that. I said, you know, Fatback goes, keep going. He'll make a mistake. And I said, he's just playing with me, and he's just going wide open. He come off turn 2 there, and that thing wiggled, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just absolutely couldn't believe it.
Our Dodge ran so well today, and just it's an unfortunate thing. But, I mean, you know, you win them sometimes like that. I don't know if I've ever won one like that, but I've sure lost them like that.
Jimmy Johnson outlasted the field in a mad dash for second place behind Matt Kenseth in the final point standings. Earnhardt finished third, followed by Jeff Gordon, Harvick, Newman, and Stewart. The average age of the top 7, 29. The future of NASCAR, it is now.
This is a great year for us, and you know, we just keep moving up. I've never been in a series for my 3rd year yet to see what will happen. So, you know, 5th, 2nd, maybe we can be in Matt's spot next year. So, great year.
"33 years, 15 champions, nearly 1,000 races. For 3 decades, NASCAR's top racing division was known simply as Winston Cup. In 2004, however, Winston will be gone. Gone perhaps from the trophies, the uniforms, and the banners that blanket America's most storied racetracks. But Winston's legacy as the constructors of the world's greatest racing series will never disappear. And now, led by youngsters and veterans alike, NASCAR marches forward as the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series into 2004 and beyond.